welcome to East Studios. Today I have a special guest, Bulyboy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Bulyboy has been practicing French cavalry for a while, while Isog H contended for the gold medal in 3 vs 3. Mostly our games consisted of rushes, so Bulyboy had to learn how to get cavalry out very fast and efficiently with the French. Can you tell us a basic overview of what you did?
With the French, I like to age up with 14 villagers. I use the 400 wood politician and build a stable as soon as I can in age 2 and start queuing up hussars.
How many hussars usually come out in your first batch?
It's usually between 3 and 5.
Playing with you often in 3v3, I've noticed you usually always have hussars out there. What are some of the hotkeys you use to control your units?
One major thing is you want to use the find stable hotkey. So you don't have to go find your stable and click on it. You can just hit the hotkey, it'll select your stable, and then you can just use your hotkey for queuing up a hussar. It's very fast that way, much more efficient. For controlling my hussars, I like to put them on control group 1. And I usually have 1 or 2, sometimes 3 groups of hussars running around. Sometimes your allies need help in a fight, and sometimes it's just nice to break up your group and raid the enemy in quite a few places at once.
I've noticed that barely ever are your hussars are barely ever idle. How do you keep them moving?
The hotkey, the control groups, that makes it much more easy to keep them moving. You just looking around at the herds, raiding them if they're being hunted on. You're going around looking for forests that the enemy is chopping on or mines and doing whatever harm you can to them.
I've noticed, usually I can give a yell and you'll be there to help me kill skirmishers, but how do you tell where other villagers are? I always see you finding them and killing them.
Well, the hunts, if you have the map explored, the hunts are a big giveaway because you can see when an animal is dead. So that's one thing that you use quite often. The other thing is you just watch on your mini map and just keeping your eyes open and running your cavalry all over, anywhere where it'd be likely for villagers to be.
So, say you're in a situation where your enemy is playing a little defensively, they've got an outpost by their hunt, and you're on one side, then you have their villagers that are hunting, and then right behind that there's an outpost. What is the best strategy to kill as many villagers as you can before they get in that outpost?
Very good question. When that happens, you want to take your cavalry and don't attack them on the opposite side of the outpost. Get in between the villagers and the outpost and then start attacking. So they have to get through your cavalry to get to any building that they want to garrison their villagers in. You can get a lot more kills that way.
I have a couple questions concerning your economy. My one big question is the market that important for doing cavalry? Second, what about villager creation?
Okay, with French, when you have a 100 wood start, you always build a market no matter what when you're doing cavalry with French. So when you start with 100 wood, you're going to chop with 3 villagers, and your first created villagers can also going to go on wood. The other 2 are getting food in the meantime. You're going to build a market, get hunting dogs, build a house, then once you have all that done, your villagers on wood should go on food until you age. You're going to age at 14 villagers using the 400 wood politician, and during the transition I put 9 villagers on wood, leaving 5 on food. I get all the tier 1 market upgrades. Then I chop 125 extra wood to get steel traps as soon as I age. 7 villagers then go on coin, and the other 2 go back on food.
Your villager costs as much food as a hussar costs food. would you sacrifice one hussar getting created in that batch to keep a villager queued?
I try always to keep a steady villager creation, but in the early part of the game when you don't have a surplus of resources and you're trying to keep a steady military flow, I'll sacrifice a few villagers so I can keep my hussars coming out in full groups of 5. Steady creation like that. And that helps a lot to keep your opponent pressured.
Well, thank you for watching so far. We're going to go ahead and get into the in-game footage.
He's a new one.
Nothing like having some cav now.
In Age of Empires 3, the home city and the shipments from the home city play a very important role in the game. You want to build your deck in a way that helps your strategy the most. Since I do team cavalry often with the French, I have built a deck that is for cavalry. The first card I send when my first shipment arrives is 3 villagers. This boosts your economy early in the game and is very crucial. The second shipment I send is in Age 2. I send 700 wood immediately after I age, which allows me to put up a lot of houses to support my population. I always send the 4 villager shipment after the 700 wood, as this substantially boosts your economy, which helps you get your military units out. By the time I receive my next shipment, I like to send the team cavalry upgrade, as this boosts my hussars in combat. Being that I'm generally fighting a lot after I get my team cavalry upgrade, the next shipment comes very quickly. The one I like to send is the cavalry hit point upgrade, which again will give me an edge over my opponents. I generally receive my 6th shipment about 10 minutes into the game, which is when I start to need more wood for housing and some more market upgrades. The spice trade is a very useful card. It increases the gather rates off of berry bushes and off of hunted animals by 20%. It is very useful on maps like Hispaniola, where there are many berry bushes and not many hunts. It is also very useful on maps where there may be plenty of hunts but where you need an echo boost in the food department. After that, I might send land grab if we're running out of hunts and berry bushes, or whatever I might think is useful at the moment.
It generally depends on what is happening in the game, whether your team is winning or whether your team is being pushed back, what caused this end.
Thank you for joining us for another strategy update with ESOG H Studios, and thank you Bulyboy for joining us.
Thank you for having me. As always, it's been a pleasure.